wanna get it crunk in the club, crunk in the club, with a crunk in the club, crunk in the club, crunk in the club, crunk in the club, with a get it crunk with a couple hundred thugs. Crunk in the club, crunk in the club, with a crunk in the club, crunk in the club, crunk in the club, crunk in the club, with a get it crunk with a couple hundred thugs. Everybody round, everybody round, everybody round, everybody round here. Everybody round, everybody round here. Know we getting hype. Everybody round, everybody round, everybody round, everybody round, everybody round here. Know we getting hype. Wanna get it crunk in the club, crunk in the club, with a crunk in the club, crunk in the club, crunk in the club, crunk in the club, with a get it crunk with a couple hundred thugs. Crunk in the club, crunk in the club, with a crunk in the club, crunk in the club, crunk in the club, crunk in the club, with a get it crunk with a couple hundred thugs. Everybody round, everybody round, everybody round, everybody round here. Everybody round, everybody round here. Know we getting hype. Everybody round, everybody round. Everybody round, everybody round, everybody round here. Know we getting hype. Level up.
Welcome everybody to day 4. We are nearing the end of Open 2 here at VCT Game Changers APAC. You're with me, Mikafabs, and with Daks, of course. And wow, it's very bright and sunny where you are, Daks. I thought it would be. I thought you were favoring the darker sort of like lighting.
You think it'd be all moody, right? But no,
Yeah,
it's
I thought it was.
Look at it. I'm all bright, cheery. It's a sun shining day, and of course, with the high intense matchup we're gonna be getting later on, and of course the second one as well right after. You already know that today is gonna be a great day for Game Changers action.
Yeah, exciting matches all around. Just yesterday, we had a major upset. I was checking like the scores of what happened yesterday, and I was like, wait, hang on. Why is RRQ Kaguya out? I mean, there was a major upset, a team that I thought would be in the top 4, but it was an amazing job for Global Esports. Very exciting things for them today.
Yeah, and because of that, they're going to be facing off against Orangutan X yet again. Battle of the South Asian squads. And the winner of that, they're going to have double duty for the day, Mika, because if FULLSENSE, Sapphire, they're waiting on the other side as well. But you mentioned it, I was there watching every single moment of that GE versus RRQ matchup. You can really see they put in the work, and that's really the big difference between Open 1 and Open 2. They put in the work. We've seen these squads just come on up and be better than ever.
Yeah, it's gonna be a real test for them today, right? They have to go up against Orangutan X, and if they're up for the challenge, they have to go up against FULLSENSE Sapphire next. Whew, what a day indeed. But just a reminder for everybody, this is our series format, so remember that there are 3 opens over here, and we are just about ending our second one. These teams are collecting points, and the top 6 teams at the end of Open 3 will qualify for Elite, which in turn is the final step to the international stage. Of course, we also do have LCQ here, so teams, I believe there are 2 teams to qualify for Elite at LCQ. Teams that may not have collected enough points here can qualify at LCQ. And now over here at our registered teams, I think like the most interesting thing is we have teams like the Hero KDA Daks and Points of Authority that didn't make it out of the Swiss stage last Open, but they're here now, so it's exciting to see which teams will get in the next Open.
And it's such a vast field right here in our Open qualifiers. We see so many of them popping up. I remember we were counting it last time we were on panel. 68 squads came in, and now there are how many left? 4 standing in our final few days. So Open 3, there's still possibilities for some of these other names to pop up later on, Mika.
Yes, absolutely. It's gonna be really exciting to see which new teams are up for the challenge in Open 3, or maybe we'll get more or less of the same ones, because we're seeing, of course, that we still have Team SMG here, still pretty much undefeated. May drop a couple of maps or so, but still pretty much the queens sitting on the throne already, waiting for their challengers to come to them. And those challengers, of course, are Global Esports Phoenix, Orangutan X, and of course FULLSENSE Sapphire.
Yeah, and you mentioned it a while ago. We only had 2 new teams into the playoffs. 6 of them still just recurring from Open number 1. But there's not only, of course, the points up for grabs here, Mika, but we have an incredible prize pool as well. 10,000 USD on the line. And now within our top 4, that 3,500 lion's share looking very tasty for our Open 2 champion.
Of course, and you can see our 2nd, 3rd, and 4th places, they actually already get a little share of the prize pool already. But of course, it's not just that these teams are playing for, right? They really do want to get to that very top because they are collecting those points to qualify for Elite, the biggest showdown that will happen in APAC, right? I'm sure that FULLSENSE Sapphire, they do have their eyes set on getting back to the international stage once again, doing like, let's do this again, let's do a take 2. We now have more experience, we now have, you know, more strategies up our in our playbook, so hopefully they can be able to do that. But Team SMG, they're definitely still looking like the behemoth of the APAC scene here at Game Changers.
Yeah, and let's not forget also teams like Orangutan, teams like GE. They're on the uprise, and we have our bracket right now. We're going to be tackling the lower bracket for today, ladies and gents. At the end of the day, we will know who will face off against Team SMG in tomorrow's grand finals. And it's really such a tough road, Mika, because double duty for either Orangutan X or Global Esports if they get their initial victory.
Exactly. It's one team is guaranteed to take on 2 matches in a row today. The endurance for that, Daks, is just something else, especially when you're dealing with the pressure of elimination. You know, it's just like dropping one map is not an option anymore, especially since you want to preserve your energy. You want to preserve your strats as well. Every single map that comes out here in our first series, you know that FULLSENSE Sapphire are already watching it very, very closely.
Absolutely. I agree with that. They're going to be so glued to the series that will come up next, which is Orangutan X and Global Esports. Any mistake that they notice from either team, they will look to exploit in the near future. And that's pretty much the beauty of how far FULLSENSE Sapphire went in the upper bracket in the first place. Only losing to Team SMG, finally breaking the streak of maps Team SMG did by taking that win on Haven, but they couldn't get the job done in the series itself. But Orangutan GE, we've seen this matchup before. Last time around in Open 1, Mika, Orangutan was the one with the advantage, but maybe this time the evolution of GE is something to watch out for.
Yeah, I don't know. I had Orangutan X actually as my dark horse for this Open. Now all of a sudden it's like, ooh, Global Esports, okay, all right. I definitely wasn't expecting yesterday's matchup to happen, bringing it to a map 3 against RRQ and then eventually taking the series. So I would definitely say the momentum is in their favor, but going up against even bigger fish now, against Orangutan X, against FULLSENSE, and potentially Team SMG, right? It's gonna be a tall order for them indeed.
Yeah, and I wonder right now, what's the plan here? Orangutan GE, just the fact that they've seen each other already makes such a big difference. There's also that history, of course, between Casper and some of the members of Team GE in different outlings from the South Asian scene. And everyone's going to be watching that matchup. There's a big fan base for both orgs for good reason. And let's not forget, Orangutan, they made it to that runner-up spot last time around. Can they do so again through the hardest route this time?
Yes, lots of history indeed between our first series of the day. We'll get into that, but before that, we're going into a quick break, so don't go anywhere. VCT Game Changers APAC, we'll be right back. Welcome back, ladies and gents, and everybody in between. We are just about to start our first series here at VCT Game Changers APAC Open 2. Again, our penultimate day, our second to the last day here, and these teams are going to have one hell of a day in front of them, especially for one team in particular, the team that makes it out of the series. It could be Orangutan X, it could be Global Esports Phoenix. Both of these teams, Daks, have had a really short amount of time to adjust their rosters, right? So it's going to be a real challenge to rally everyone, to have everybody on that same page, to deal with the pressure of elimination here at the top four, and to make it to the grand finals.
They needed to make these adjustments this time on the fly, right? For Global Esports Phoenix, Daks, you talked about it extensively last time we were on panel. It's such a new roster with Bila being added in weeks ago. But I think the bigger story right now is Orangutan X have finally activated Chloe into the roster as well. And to our surprise, she's not back on her Sentinel role. She was playing a lot of Reyna, especially yesterday. And it's such an interesting look here for Orangutan. One of the two clutch queens really that we've been missing so far for Orangutan and Chloe. She's back in action, but in a different outlook than we expected.
Yeah, it's looking like Orangutan has like a different flavor this open, right? It's a different kind of dynamic coming in. But for the side of like Global Esports Phoenix, now my wild card for this open too, taking down RQ Kaguya yesterday, that's a massive ego boost. Momentum is clearly in their favor here. I wonder what they can do to bring that kind of energy, bring that momentum into the series, of course. But interestingly enough, of course, we were talking about this behind the scenes. You do have some history between these two teams, right? You have Meow, you have Muffin Loop, and you have Casper that actually have had some history. They played together last year on VLT Asteria. Yep. So how will that knowledge potentially give an advantage to either team, right? What does the understanding look like as we go into the series?
I think it helped out, especially when we saw them last time around in Open 1. Casper, who has had a lot more experience playing at the highest leagues of the Game Changers scene. In the meantime, GE still trying to find their footing. There were times where Casper really proved to be the best that South Asia had to offer, and now we see Orangutan X, and especially their roster, we confirmed that Chloe yet again will be on that starting side. Chloe's there, we got the Ruma on that Sentinel, Japip Swirly, and of course our star controller Casper. And in such an interesting mixed lineup like this in Orangutan X, Mika, we noticed at the very start of the Open number 2, they made some drastic changes from their runner-up squad from Open number 1. It still has been successful. You still have players like Japip stepping up, Casper stepping up, but it's really a different kind of look we get from Orangutan X.
Yes, absolutely. I love it. I'm all for it. It seems like there's just so many layers in this new form of Orangutan X, right? For Global Esports Phoenix, clearly a team, of course, that is still like getting their bearings, of course, with the very recent addition of Bela, right? But she's doing so well. You see a lot of the rounds that Global Esports is able to clutch, and most of them are because of Bela, right? So we were talking earlier about how like the Sentinel matchup is going to go down between Aruma and Bela. She should be up to the challenge here, of course, and this could be her biggest one yet.
Yeah, and it would give some questions to Orangutan. Do we actually put Chloe back into that role instead? Will we get Eri in also to actually play on out to go for the front line? But I think my biggest point to make about Global Esports is from Open 1 to Open 2, they've really just decided to build on what they have. The foundation that they have with Muffin as well as Meow has been absolutely outstanding. And we've also seen some incredible improvements from both Rose and especially Curie. So Global Esports, they know their trajectory is upward. Now they just have to beat a squad that have basically eliminated them before from this outing.
Yeah, and I wonder, like Duelist, of course, is a big question as well for Global Esports Phoenix. Who's taking it? Is it going to be Meow? Is it going to be Muffin? And we do see that a lot of that is because of the map selection. So as we check out what maps our teams have chosen here, I'm expecting Lotus and Split Bands from Global Esports right off the bat. Their best performing map, probably Fracture, is going to come up as well. As we see it, it is going to be a Fracture. But as a decider map, we are going first into Bind, picked by Global Esports Phoenix, and then Haven, picked by Orangutan X. Very interesting indeed.
I'm intrigued that they let Bind pass in the first place. You expect Lotus and Pearl to be the immediate bans here for GE and OGX. They know those are effectively the maps that they might be in trouble with versus Orangutan X, but letting Bind through is such a big wild card right now. Then we move over to Haven, which is basically the best map Orangutan X has had this year. 8 wins all throughout the year, wins over GE, wins over RQ, Big Sight, Hero KDA, as well as FULLSENSE Sapphire. So for Global Esports, they're gonna need to do a lot of work to take that map number 1 because map number 2 is so contended. Only then will they get their signature pick of Fracture, and there's a reason why Orangutan X lets that pass, Mika, because I feel like now Orangutan is confident they can take Fracture away from GE.
Yeah, that's the thing. I don't really feel like, at least for this series, at least for this opponent, I don't really feel like Orangutan X was really avoiding any particular map, right? I feel like they have enough experience, they have enough confidence going into any of these. And for Global Esports Phoenix, we definitely know that Fracture is their best performing map. But now, we have Bind, we have Haven. I am expecting it to be both Meow and Muffin on the duelist role. I am expecting Meow probably to take first Bind and then probably Muffin over onto Haven on the Jet, right? So seeing what Twirly is going to bring out against them is going to be another really exciting one as we head into agent selection in just a bit.
Yeah, we've seen for Orangutan X when their duelist absolutely shines. They are such a strong team. Funny enough, I've been watching Twirly's performances all throughout these days, and truth be told, even though I've seen in the chat that she actually doesn't like this agent, I think her Neon is one of the best we have seen so far whenever they get to that fracture map, and that's one point why Orangutan X lets it pass. Instead, though, really the sacrifice here for Orangutan is the fact that they let Bind through. It hasn't been the most successful map for them, but they needed to prioritize to getting rid of Pearl instead, because that's where they struggle. Maybe Global Esports, if they use that map to their advantage, and especially we know how consistent Meow has really been so far playing that Raze, then that can be their pivot point moving forward, because we usually expect them to get Fracture in the middle of the series, not later on.
Lesser of two evils, I suppose, for Global Esports, right? And it feels like it is indeed of a pinch, but I feel like Global Esports, you know, they did know that eventually they'd have to come across their demons, so to say. Bind is one of those demons, so I feel like they have some kind of game plan for this, you know, versus probably one of the maps that they planned out. Now, going over to Twirlies, I feel like, Twirly, you don't like the neon? It's like, oh, the Pinoy pride is shaken.
All I gotta say is salamat, thanks instead. And that's the thing, right? Here for Orangutan, I think the biggest concern right now for them is what kind of Orangutan X will we get from them today. Because truth be told, while they have made it here, their matchup yesterday against the Hero KDA, right? It was shaky, to say the least. They were on the back foot coming into Split. They were on the back foot, especially after the first half of Ascent, and their biggest point of confidence was that domination on Fracture. Have they acclimated in time with Chloe back onto the roster with such a heavy frontline instead to try and take down GE, who have been formulating their strategies not just since before Open 2, but ever since Open 1?
It's gonna be so interesting, right? Because Orangutan X, they are quite diverse right now, and there's still a little bit of unpredictability to them, just because all of their players, they can flex and they're still adjusting. So I do know that they can be a little playful with their agent compositions. I do know that they have brought out the Gecko previously, just a couple of days ago. I'm wondering if we're seeing any ape shenanigans coming here into Bind.
Mika, look who's playing on Orangutan next, though. I think it's Emmy now. We're actually getting Emmy in rather than Chloe. We expected that she would be running from this year, running all throughout the series instead, especially for the eliminations. But they do trust and rely on Emmy and Twirly getting the job done. And I remember we saw this on Big Side. When they sync on up, it is just exceptional from Orangutan. But when they're cut down in the prime, when they're cut in half especially, that's where it all falls apart. On the other side, though, Mika, Meow, of course, on that signature Raze. Usually you see Muffin moving over to Initiators, and she's on the Sova this time around.
Yeah, that duo is going to be very, very interesting to watch, especially since you're up against Emmy and you're up against Twirly. And of course, picking, you know, the Raze and the Jet, it's pretty much like picking like any double duelist pretty much. It's like, it's a promise, right? We are going to get in. We are going to frag. We are definitely going to get in, make space for the rest of our team, right? So we're going to see if we can do just that, if Orangutan X can do just that indeed against Global Esports Phoenix, our wild card this Open 2. So casters, over to you guys.
It is not just the teams who are a wild card, it's also the players of GE Phoenix and as well as Orangutan X. I'm pretty surprised about how Emmy was the one who they selected, right? I think yesterday when Chloe was playing, she was playing as a Fade. She's been, you know, embodying all of these roles that she's not really used to, but maybe she gave a little bit of a way for them to, you know, really get to win this map of Bind. Because I know, statistically speaking, they're not really as rich when it comes to this map, but Quack, I'm very excited to see what is going to happen for the first map.
Yeah, I think it's one of those things where it comes down to how you really play, because you might feel like, I'm not so used to this role or this agent, like how Chloe played Reyna at the same time, but when you are still able to perform, that really says something. With these two teams, with these two players, you really have to think about how I think the initiators will perform, because we know how strong Meow 16K with her Raze is going to perform. We know how Twirly and Emmy can do as well. But when it comes down to these duels, these fights, these big firefights, you need those initiators to be there to support your duelist. So I have my eyes on Japips as well as Rose.
Yeah, I think both of these initiators have been dealing a lot of impact during these rounds. And look at this quick action here towards B. And there's nobody there, though. All of them are towards A. And Casper is going to be ready for a little bit of a stun if they are going to push through any second now.
All right, well, we're going in with the satchel. A little bit fumbled thanks to the concuss coming in from Casper. Meow knows she's up by the corner, but still blinded. Somehow able to stay alive for a couple more seconds. Emmy does, well, Aruba comes in with her incendiary, and now comes Emmy with a frenzy from behind. The entire side is in shambles, and Global Esports being still trying to fight back. Bela, we've seen her come up in some clutch situations before, but not so much this time around as she's completely surrounded, so Pistol does go to Orangutan X.
The quick actions here for Emmy is what really brought them that round. And Emmy, when we saw her play her camera, everything else, I think she got it covered. She was looking at the map. She was really giving all of these calls, and that's what you expect from the likes of a duelist, right? Being on the front lines at the same time, really providing that information so that your initiators will have the right responses for you to take on that round. But I guess a little bit of a fumble there, not much coordinated for GE Phoenix, but this is a round wherein they can try and respond back to what was lost during the pistol.
But yeah, earlier to my point, I mean, that fumble is also because of that fault line coming up from Casper, and that's something that really threw Meow 16 in for a loop. So something they have to really consider about now, just going through the teleporter. A whole crew of them trying to make their way into baths. This is a lot of information for Orangutan X, and they're just waiting to receive them on the other side of that thing. Thankfully, in time, Aruma does pop the sky smoke, so Global Esports Phoenix now just completely blocked off. Bela still trying to bait up more utility on the other side of the map, though.
Caution. With that quick rotation, though, the smoke will dissipate, but Emmy is holding this angle. There will be a recon bolt sent through.
Revealing area.
But Emmy just really wants to reposition. They thought it was going to be B, but thankfully, no, the heavens are open, and Casper takes on the first kill. But down goes Rose, Viola, and Meow 16k. It's up to Kiri now. She only has a sky smoke available. She spots out Emmy. Doesn't really quite get the kill.
Not quite the angle, and oh my gosh. Emmy doesn't even care. She's not phased. She's not scared. She knows where Kiri is and just floats onto the top of that thing and tries to spray her down with a frenzy. So clean round from OGX, and they don't really falter in the face of all this danger.
No phasing at all. They got the kills. There was one in response for GE, but that wasn't enough. This time, though, I think the response available for them, and Rose is the one getting all of the kills. I think now she is 3 orbs away from her Ruling Thunder, and with the Phantom, I guess more orbs the better.